Hi peeps, welcome to another Mystery Monday. Today I decided to try something new. So I'll do a spin on my wrap up. Stay tuned and find out exactly what I mean by that. Hi guys! Oh well, I'm very nervous. I know that if you've been on my channel for a while, you might have noticed that I have no wrap-up videos. And one TBR video which is related to a readathon. So I'm doing something different. I'm trying, I just, go with the flow, and I felt like I wanted to do this. So this week is going to be a week of firsts. On Wednesday, I'll have my first ever TBR. I'll explain the details of that on that video. But today I'm doing my first ever wrap up. Yes, you heard me right. I never do that. You may ask why? Why, Paulina, don't you do wrap up? It feels like you read. Yes, I do read. I read quite a lot, actually. So I feel that if I was to wrap up all the books that I read in the previous month, you will be bored because, it's not a secret that I have a serious case of verboria. I cannot contain what I talk, and if I was to talk about books, especially books that I love, you would be here forever. But I love talking about the books that I read, especially because I have a lot of fun with my anticipated releases. So I like telling you the books that I'm looking forward to, and I realize you never get to see or hear from me if I have actually read any. I was looking at my book log, and I realized that I actually this year have been reading a lot of new releases. So I decided that moving forward, I'll do a version of a wrap-up, which is I'll wrap up and rank and tell you about the books that I read that were released on that previous month. I think it makes sense. So for today, I will be talking about books that I read that came out in August. Okay, so if you've been here a while, you know that I do have and also a straightforward way of ranking books, and I do that to be fair. Therefore, I am quite a high ranker. And sometimes a book that I enjoy the most is not necessarily the one with the highest ranking for one reason or another. So if you're interested in my more objective review, you can check my blog, and if you're there, you can support me by signing up to my mailing list. That would mean the world to me. Or you can also check my Goodreads review for those books, and that will be the link down below next to the books mentioned in this video. With that said, for the purpose of my wrap-ups, I'm either gonna round it up or down based on the overall feel of the book compared to the list. I hope that makes sense, and that's how I'm gonna talk about them. I'll start from the bottom, and I'll work my way up to my favorite August releases read. With 3 mustaches, I have 2 books. The one that I liked the least out of the 2 was We Were Never Here by Andrea Bartz. Basically, we follow Emily and Kristen. They are best friends, have been best friends since their teen years. And then life kind of separates them. They are doing different things in different places, but they made a pact that every year they will have a reunion trip. They'll get together and vacation somewhere in the world and have an adventure so they can stay connected. We start following them when they are in Chile right now. And on their last night, Kristen is, let's party as our last night. We're not going to see each other for every day. Let's make the night count. And then they go to a bar and she meets this very handsome backpacker. They hook up. They go to their room. Emily gives them space, but you know, she has to sleep. So like a few hours later, she knocks on the door. She let them know she's walking in no matter what is happening. They have to end now. Emily is tired. However, when she opens the door, there is blood and glass everywhere. The backpacker is dead. And Kristen seems very traumatized. She says he attacked her and she had no choice. It was in self-defense. Before she knew it, he hit his head. That was it. Here's a kicker though. Something very similar happened to them the previous trip, the previous year when they were in Africa. Emily doesn't know how she feels about this, but they decide to hide the body and they go their separate ways. Emily feels uneasy about it, but it's okay because, you know, Kristen is living in Australia anyway. So she focuses on her job, on her life, on her new relationship, and then Kristen moves back home and we go from there. I had such high hopes for this book, but first of all, the book is narrated by Emily, and she was someone I did not like being in her head. She is supposed to be our protagonist and our heroine, but we don't know if she is an unreliable narrator or not. And I think to build that up, Bart's made her such an unlikable character that I'll be honest, I almost DNF'd the book because I couldn't be bothered reading through her lenses. Throughout, I would say about half or the last third of the book, it picks up and it becomes a fast-paced, action-packed thriller. So the end was actually good, even though when I was like, okay, maybe this book is better than I thought, it's just like a bad start. I'm okay with Emily now. And then the last twist just made absolutely no sense at all, and I was left very unsatisfied. Then, also with Three Mustaches, but is a much better read than that, I have The Guilt Trip by Sandy Jones, and in it we follow Ellie, her fiance Will, and four of his oldest friends. Rachel and Jack, a couple. Paige and Noah, another couple. They all go to Portugal to attend a destination wedding for, you know, Ellie and Will. And sorry, you know how I feel about characters. I not always remember the names. So in this book, we start learning things as they go, and it really looks like someone is hiding something. Tensions run high. But for me, it is kind of like a slow burner. The characters were amazing. I really liked their relationship and the dynamic. And this is almost like a contemporary or a drama. It's very character focused. And I love characters. It's my favorite part of most books. But because this is a closed circle, you know, 6 people go somewhere, but only 5 return alive. Did one of them kill them or not? I didn't want this to be a character-driven book. I wanted this to focus on the plot and on the thrilling aspect of it. So it was a bit lacking for me because maybe I went in with the wrong expectation. But it is what it is. Next, with Four Mustaches, I have 5 books, and I would say that overall, I enjoy them equally, so I'll just read in the order that I put here. It's a random order. The Dead and the Dark is a YA fantasy book by Kearney Good. So we follow Logan and her dads. 2 dads, Brendan and Alejo. They are TV ghost hunters. They have their own show, and they are from Snakebite, but they have been on the road and moved out for a long time ago. They come back, and when they come back to Snakebite, they realize there's an episode waiting to happen because some teenagers have been missing. Some of them never show up, some of them show up dead, and that's how they meet Ashley. She was the girlfriend of one of the missing boys. Obviously, there's something at play here. It's probably a haunting. Ashley decides to ask Logan to help her because she really needs to figure out what is going on, and they are determined to find out if they can stop it. At this moment, we don't know if it's human or supernatural, and it goes from there. Let me just say, the things I love the most about this book is highly atmospheric. I was scared at times. I really enjoyed the mythology they built around the monster of the book, and I really love the queer representation. There's Brendan and Alejo, a very, happily, normal, healthy couple, and they raise a daughter, and she starts her own relationship with Ashley, who's bi. And I think what I loved the most about this book too is that they really use the petri dish that is snakebite to make some social commentaries on homophobia and how closed-minded people with their prejudice can really ruin people's lives. On top of that is a really scary book, and one of the things that won the book for me was Brendan. He is such a nuanced character. I was there with him. I could see things through his eyes. I felt what he felt, and he's the reason I cried so much in this book. I highly recommend it but go in knowing that this is a YA, so you will find your typical tropes, but I really enjoyed that. The next book that I read was Gone for Good by Joanna Schaffhausen. It was the first book on the Annalisa Vega series. She's starting a new series, and in it we have the Love Lorn Killer that 20 years ago killed 7 women in a very ritualistic way, and after they were killed they would send a love letter to the newspaper. Now we fast forward 20 years and we meet Grace. She is part of a detective club, which is an amateurish group that likes investigating cold cases and trying to come up with a solution, believing, most rightly so, that the police has given up on them. Grace is obsessed with the Love Lorn Killer, and it seems like she's getting too close to it because she's found dead in the same ritualistic way, as with clear clues in the crime scene that indicate the Love Lorn Killer has come out of retirement. And that's how we meet Detective Vega, who was also touched by the Love Lorn Killer when, she was much younger. And it's her investigation to try to catch the bastard once and for all. I thought as far as, serial killer thriller goes, it was quite good. It was well paced. I really enjoyed the narrative. It was so easy to read, and I feel that Vega was so well developed. We spent so much time with her and with her head, but we don't feel like it cost the plot anything to get to know her. It was organic, it was natural. She's very nuanced. She is black and white. She does what is right, and that's that no matter the cost. But her life is a mess. So I really enjoyed the plot and the atmosphere and many things about this book. It wasn't a 5-star because I believe that for the sake of a cliffhanger, the last chapters went places that I was just like, really? Some of that was just not necessarily my opinion. That could have happened in the beginning of the new book, but it is what it is. I really enjoyed it, and I'll definitely be going up on the series. Next, we have The Devil Makes Three by Tori Bovalino. We have Tess, who loves playing cello, loves her sister, and doesn't like much of anything else. This summer, she's staying in the boarding school. She's working at the local pub. She's also working at the school's library, and that's how we meet Elliot. He's a entitled rich kid who's obsessed with the occult, so he keeps pestering Tess to keep getting him the grimoires that are found in the exclusive private collection that he really shouldn't have access to. But she helps him, they hit each other, and then before you know it, they release a demon, and the story goes from there. It is a why so again tropes, but I thought that Tess and Elliot were so delightful. I really hope there is another book in this sentence because I want to continue read them. It was almost enemy to lovers, even though it wasn't that cut and dry, but they go from really hating each other to really understanding each other. Again, I love the demon aspect of it and how it was built up to the climax, and it was a bit scary. If I was a teenager, I would be really scary by that. Guys, don't go getting grimoires and releasing demons, because you know this one once does. And did he get her? We don't know. Read and find out. But I read, I know, and I really enjoyed the book. Next, we have The Family Plot by Megan Collins. This is one of those books that really touch you. In my opinion, it's almost like a character study done right, because it is focused on the characters. We have a family of children that lives on this isolated house in this isolated island. The parents homeschool them, and from a very early age, they teach them about true crime to the point that that's their homeschool. It's a very morbid house, and on top of that, there's this island serial killer. The kids cannot wait to leave the house, and then we follow Dahlia, whose twin brother Andy runs away one day in the middle of the night without even telling her. She waits her turn, she leaves, and then their dad dies many years later. When she comes back and her siblings come back and they're ready to bury their dad, right there in the family plot, they find Andy's body clearly murdered. Was this dormant serial killer? Is her family related to the serial killers? We don't know, but one thing is for sure, this book was intense. I really liked it, and I like how we get to know how those abusive parents ruin these kids' life, and how their choice and it's almost codish, and it really influenced them. But none of the kids really wanted to stay within this. They tried their best to cope with that by branching away into something different. And on top of that, we do have a tightly plot mystery. So I really enjoyed it. If you like cult, if you like true crime, if you like character studies, and if you like a book that you will read in one sitting, I really recommend The Family Plot. Last on my four mustache group, I have My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. It is a 4 mustache for now, but I will read it again with the audiobook, because Rachel from, The Shades of Orange, I'll link her here and here, mentioned that it's easier to get a grasp of Jones's writing style if you listen to it at the same time. So this is a book that I loved. Basically follow this girl that to cope with the wrong things that go on in her life. She fantasizes about slasher movies. That's her comfort zone, is what she goes to. She watches them, she ranks them, she analyzes them, she writes about them, and she imagines her life as that movie. So much so that she's convinced that on the 4th of July, there will be a massacre in her town. She tries to tell the police that and everyone, and nobody believes her, but she knows it for sure. So she sets herself on a mission to find her final girl, because she thinks she's not worth it. So she has to find the final girl, she has to train her, and she has to make her believe that she is it before the slasher fest starts. Sorry guys, my battery died, and I tried to change a little bit the angle here because the sun is there. But anyway, I really enjoyed Jade, our main character. I loved all the slasher references. It made me, crave slasher and horror movies. In fact, I've been binging on some, and it felt nostalgic and fresh at the same time. And his writing is so beautiful. There are some chapters that are almost essays that Jade wrote so her grade can go up, and she gave it to her teacher. And on those essays, even then, her voice was so strong. The essays really read like they were written by a not so top of the class student. So I really loved that. Everything about the writing was beautiful, but I think that's where my issue with it. First of all, it is a slow burner. The action doesn't start until the end, but when it starts, like, holy frick. Once it picked up and never let go. However, this book kind of made me feel stupid. I think it's just the way that Jones writes. He's so good at it. I think it's way above my level. So it took me a while to get into it just because he is such a good writer. And that's why I'll take Rachel's advice and listen to it as I read it. Hopefully with that immersiveness, I'll feel, brighter a little bit. For my 5 mustache reads, I will have 3 books that I will link in the cards and down below if you want to know my full thoughts on it, because I just made very lengthy videos about them. They have been reviewed. So I will start with the one who's not. Line to Kill is by Anthony Horowitz and is the 3rd book in the Horowitz mystery series. In this book, we basically follow Horowitz and Hawthorne as they are, I'll move it here, guys, as they are invited to attend this literary convention with a very weird cast of characters. And once they get there, they are in an island. It's closed circle, so of course someone dies. The mainland police can get there in time, so Hawthorne kind of helps, and he's faced with something from his past. Like, honestly, it is cheeky, it is meta, there's nothing not to love about the Hawthorne Horowitz series. So I had such high hopes for this one because it is my favorite trope, closed circle. It is one of my favorite styles. I love meta books, meta movies. I like this kind of like dark mood and humor, and where authors or directors or whatever can go with it. So there's nothing not to love. I'll continue to read the series. I will reread them eventually. Chef's kiss. However, I was slightly disappointed in this one, but it was my personal opinion, only because I expected the island to be a closer circuit. The island is very much a town, so it's isolated, but it's not quite closed circuit. So I wanted to let you know that, so you don't go in with the wrong impressions. And also because we're getting some background and diving deeper into Hawthorne and his motivations and his character. There's a lot of character development here for him. Because of that, I missed a little bit of the banter between him and Horowitz, but those are just minor things. Plot is always tight, writing is always beautiful, it is funny, it is fair, it is wonderful. Next, for my favorite, I have a tie. Cheater, but it is what it is. I can't pick one. So I do have All's Well by Mona Wad, which I'll link in the card here, and the video is in the description below. I did a review for it, and is basically we follow Miranda. She's a teacher. Everything is going wrong in her life. She suffers from chronic illness. Nobody believes her. Her doctors are shit. Her friends are shit. Her husband left her. Her students are shit. She really wants to play All's Well that ends well, because for some reason she had within her that if this goes right, her life will get better. And partially I can relate to that. I've been there where I was in such a moment of despair that I irrationally picked something that if that thing goes well, then everything goes well. Let me know. Did this ever happen to you? Is it just me? No? I don't know. So she's determined to put on the play. Her students, however, they want Macbeth. And they will do everything it takes to get it their way. And it becomes this power struggle. Rhonda feels helpless, and serendipitously, she meets three very strange men that might promise her everything that she wants. And she jumps in without even considering the cost. This book is dark humor at its best. I find it very easy to be in Rhonda's point of view. It gave me quite a bit of anxiety. I was feeling anxiety through her. And she's neurotic, she's erratic, so it's not a very comfortable read, but it's a pleasurable one at that. On the same video, I have In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. It is amazing. Again, I don't want to repeat myself. You can read my review, but in it we follow a group of 6 friends: Jessica, Jack, Heather, Carol, Ment, and Frankie. They're close as can be. They walk around like campus. They are that group that everybody admires, but they don't open space for anyone to come in. They are all very nuanced. They're not all good people, but they're good to each other, sometimes in a bad way. And things go well. They're almost graduating. It's their last year. And then in February of their last year, so almost at graduation, one of them is murdered. Another one of them is suspected, but there is no enough evidence, so he's let go, but that shadow of suspicion lingers on. And they all move their own way. They separate in life because I don't think they can bond after the trauma. 10 years later, they come back. And this whole book is mainly narrated by Jessica. She is a unreliable, unlikable character at its best. But you like her because you understand her motivations. You can see how her nastiness comes from a place of pain, but also how she's doing herself dirty. She comes in, she has this plan for this 10-year reunion. She's going to walk in, she's going to rub how successful she is on everybody's face, and come what may, she will walk up a winner. Only someone else also has a plan that might trump Jessica's. This person is glad to finally have all of them reunited because this person feels that one of them really did kill Heather, and by the end of the weekend, this person's figure out who they are and make sure that they pay for their crime. Okay, dark academia done right, unlikable, likable characters done right, a beautiful, like the way Winstead writes, I became an instant fan. I don't know why this is her debut novel, because the woman has, the gift of the pen. It is amazing the way she writes. I'm already going to pre-order her next book as soon as it comes out. And I'm a fan. I don't know what to say. Spoiler alert, this has been one of the best books I read in here. It hit me in all the right spots. My last tide for Best August Reads is How to Kill Your Best Friend by Lexi Elliott. Again, I'll link it right here and on the description box. You just heard me talk about it because I posted my review last week. We have Lisa, Georgie, and Broad. Best friends since they met at the swim team in college. All very strong swimmers. They are kind of different spots in life now. Lisa lives with her husband in this luxury resort she owns in a Southeast Asia island. Georgia lives in New York, and Braun is too in England. But they always meet at least once or twice a year. Unfortunately, this time they are meeting for something really sad. Lisa, who was the strongest swimmer of them all, died swimming in a very dangerous spot that she was very well aware of. So they all meet for her memorial, and as they get there, things start to happening, and we have Braun and Georgie wondering if things are really how they seem, and if Lisa's death was really the end of it or just the beginning. And we just go from there. This book was so good, so fast paced. Again, the characters were superb. That's one of the things that, in my opinion, Elia does best. And the climax, ooh, the climax. My heart was pounding. I wanted to skim through the pages because I just wanted it to end. I was that anxious, but I wanted to read all the words because I didn't want to miss anything. It was a really good book, and I highly recommend. That felt a bit but it's my first wrap up. I can only promise to get better, and I'll keep doing this. Thank you for being here. See you on Wednesday, and until then, be the hummingbird.